That's the spirit. That's the working spirit.
Exactly. Chaz Smith, May 29th, 2026. Here we are yet again.
Pop quiz. How many days does May have?
31.
Does it?
Of course.
Oh, I didn't know. I was asking legitimately.
You got a calendar on the computer that you're staring at.
I do, but man, these days I could spend the rest of my life, I think, being confused and talking about it. About how do we ever know what's 30, what's 31, what's 28?
Well, every time you do, you will get messages from people explaining how to do it. So how many days does June have?
If 30, then if May has 31, because it's every other.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and then July?
July would have 31.
Correct.
August would have 30.
Incorrect. August has 31.
How's that?
That's just how it is. Back to 30 in September, 31 in October, 30 in November as well.
February has 28 and sometimes 29, right?
Exactly. Yep. All right. Great start to the show today.
Yep.
Actually, I forgot. I was supposed to start with another listener submission. Listener submission opening call. Let's do that. Is that the front runner so far?
That's my favorite so far. Not to speak ill of the others, but I love the jazzy. I feel this one captures the essence, the feeling of our old intro.
I agree. The others are good songs that I would listen to. This one fits the show.
Yeah, I like it. Who did it come from?
Anonymous. So he wrote and he said, "Hey, what's up, DLS? I'm a fan of the podcast and heard you are in need of a new intro music. I'm a music making hobbyist and wanted to offer this clip for you to use if it suits your fancy. I'm not looking for recognition and I don't have anywhere for people to listen or follow me. So please keep me anonymous if you use it. I did all the instrumentation with an electric guitar, keyboard, and drum pad. I've attached the MP3 and a WAV file. Keep work."
You know what I'm smelling here? A big old booby trap. This is somebody famous. And we're going to just say, yeah, this is great, man. We love the tune, and then he's just going to come after us for everything we're worth.
I like the spirit of it, but don't say gay, booby trap. We don't have to don't say gay it, but I would be curious what the etymology is of booby trap.
That is a great question. It definitely has nothing to do. You know what I'm going to say it is? I'm going to say that the booby bird, the blue-footed booby, or whatever it's called, there's a way to trap it. I'm guessing. That's the only thing it could be. Okay.
I don't know.
Are you searching it up?
I'm looking right now.
Don't
Originated in that's all I got. What else do I have? So from 1830s, derived from the word booby, meaning stupid, clumsy, or an easily tricked person.
Okay. So
you're basically a boob if you fall for it.
Well, here's the thing, though, about that, along those lines, is that booby traps are oftentimes, I think, really complex traps, right? It's not like... They're not?
Booby trap is a simple trap.
It is?
It'd be like setting a net for you to walk into when you walk into your house or something.
Yeah, but like if somebody dug a hole in my floor and then covered it with a carpet, right?
That's a booby trap.
It is, but how am I supposed to know? I'd have to be wildly intelligent to see a slight divot in the carpet to where, aha, I've got you.
But it's not complex in the way of like a James Bond gadget, you know?
Sure, but I'm going to say that booby traps are equal opportunity. They catch both boobs, rubes, and also the intelligente.
Well, I'm going to start using the word boob in this sense more frequently.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's because boob in the other sense, in the physical sense, it's always been like juvenile and gross.
It's not gross to me, but it's juvenile.
Not gross, juvenile. It's like it's silly.
its usage is, I use it sometimes just to like make it less sexual, basically.
So
Like if
Lauren
I
walked
need
in
to,
the room and say, "Hey, Lauren, I like your boobs today."
no, but if we're on the podcast talking about something and you have to refer to that part of the anatomy, it like desexualizes
That's
it.
true. That's true. And
Yeah.
also, it's a problem. I mean, we could have a whole subsection of the "Don't Say Gay." I guess it's just part of the "Don't Say Gay" of the slippery slope between like super crass words or crass versions of the word, then the silly version of the word, and then the technical medical version of the word, which all of a sudden becomes more crass. Like when you say the technical version, it's like, ooh, real crass.
Totally. Well, another follow up from last week. Do you remember the name of the guy who the shaka is modeled after?
Marco Rubio.
See, this is why I want to make sure that we commit this to memory
Yes.
because I feel like it's important surf culture knowledge.
He's a hero. It was Manuel, no, Sancho Panza, Pikachu,
Hamana Khalili.
Hamana Khalili. Okay, I'm not going to forget next time. Hamana Khalili.
Okay.
Hamana Khalili. Okay.
You will be tested again.
Yes.
Also, another follow up regarding kindness is the new cool. Here's a listener line call.
Hey,
Oops, I turned.
just a thought. You know what we should bring back is waving to each other on the road, like, you know, like a nod. Here's for a turn signal, or just you know, waving, like giving the wave for pedestrians. I mean, it's a really common thing. Everybody does it, or a lot of people do it. But I think just like peppered in polite usage for, you know, acknowledging courteousness, or I don't know, just trying to picture a brighter, happier world. Where am I going wrong here?
When I was young, everybody waved and nodded at each other in the neighborhood. I mean, not out obviously on the freeway or something, but like within a certain
Yeah.
circumference from your home, everybody would wave to one another or nod. In the modern world, I don't see it anymore.
Caller brings up a great point in terms of spreading. Like, I think when I'm on the road, I think my gestures are nine. If I'm going to make a gesture or some kind of, yeah, I guess gesture or honk a horn or whatever, it's always 9 out of 10 negative, right? I mean, every once in a while I'll give the thank you person, but we should work to balance that out. We have enough negativity. We're all aware of that. Things, I mean, people still need to be taught lessons and whatnot, but I guess we should have a rule that, or I'm going to implement a rule in my own life that for every time I honk or shake a fist negatively, I have to replace that with a positive wave to somebody doing something good or a little tap tap honk.
That's fair. Balance out.
Yeah.
Do you, when you see people in your neighborhood, do you wave? If you're driving by and there's like a dog walker, do you give them a nod?
Sure do. Not all of them, not the ones that I'm currently in war with, but the
How
rest.
many are there of those?
Currently, there is one, two. There's two hot wars, two cold wars, three hot wars, and two cold wars in the
Wow.
neighborhood.
Wow. Does your wife get involved or is this just you solo mission?
Oh yeah, this is a family activity.
Oh, wow. Okay. You know what? On another show, maybe share those stories with us.
will.
Maybe we'll do that in the Patreon Extra Fine Grit.
We can do that. We can do it in Patreon. I'll walk you through each one of them.
I would love to hear it.
Yeah.
Also, for anybody who wants to hear our take on the New Zealand Pro that just wrapped up last week, go over to Patreon, Extra Fine Grit. We discussed it a bit on Monday or Tuesday. I don't have anything more to add to the conversation unless you do.
I mean, as pointed out on Beach Grit today, the ugly bias that's now showing itself 1/3 of the way through the world tour. Only 6 on the men's side. Only 6 of the top 10 are Brazilians, and only 4 of the top 4 are Brazilian surfers. So I think the Brazilian fan who's always feels that the fix is in, I think it's clearly evident now that there's something there.
Yeah, I mean, where's the other 4?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know.
Joao Chianca and
Mateus
who's
Hardy.
the other? Mateus Hurdy, and there is one other.
Yeah.
Alejo Muniz need to get their
Alejo.
act together.
No, I mean, but they don't have to get their act together. The judges have to get their acts together. This is,
True.
yeah, this is coming from the top down.
They've been being robbed.
Somebody commented, though, I did that story on Beach Grit today, and somebody commented in the comments that I missed the lead, which is it's the first time in their memory that there is 4 goofies sitting atop the pile.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely accurate.
Yeah, which is an interesting, I mean, which I suppose, could you point to the addition of Raglan to tour, or is it just luck of the draw this year?
I guess you'd have to look at the stats of how the Goofies did at Raglan. If they dominated, then you could make that argument.
I feel that backside surfing is getting scored progressively higher year on year. Like I feel that they really reward a kind of 12 o'clock backside whack more than they do. Like it seems like you have to surf better plus when you're on your front foot. Like they're holding you to a higher standard. Backside feels like they'll happily reward big water sprays.
Yeah, I can see the argument. You'd have to show that backsiders win the events, though, and that's not always the case. Like Italo won this for the men's side. So who won Snapper?
Yago?
No. I know Dane was it George Pitar? I know he was in the final. George Pitar, yeah. So he's a regular footer, so that doesn't work for that. Sorry, I'm not trying to prove you wrong. I'm just thinking it through.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying 4 goofies at the top, something there.
Okay. So what's his name? Miguel won backside at Bell's. Mm-hmm. So correct. Obviously Italo front side, George Pitar front side.
Wait, isn't Italo a goof?
Yeah, but he won front side at Raglan.
Oh yeah, front side. Yeah.
And then Ethan Ewing won front side at George Pitar won Margaret. I'm sorry, not Snapper. And then Ethan won Snapper front side. So I don't know. It's not shaking out. Your math's not mathing.
My math's not mathing. Well, I'll get it to math later. I'll wedge that round peg in a square hole when time permits.
So moving on, Pro in the Wild. Somewhat related to Raglan, actually.
Before we move on real quick, are we going to get to the stab in the dark? Because I feel my spicy meatball prediction.
Don't spoil it. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, what?
I haven't watched it. You want to go ahead and spoil it?
Guess who won?
Right. Hayden
won, and I have confirmation that Taj is on Hayden's payroll.
Wow. Okay.
What do you think about that? What do you think about them apples?
That does add some credence to your claim.
I mean, right? So here's the thing. I mean, are you sad that I spoiled it for you?
I'm not that invested, to be honest, so not really.
Okay.
Like when I woke up I didn't watch it last night. I woke up this morning and I go, I'm going to stay off Instagram for half the day, basically, so that I don't get spoiled. But I'm not that invested.
I love the fact that it wouldn't have even been one thought that would have flitted across your mind that I would have been the one to spoil any honest surf news. Any just like watching something.
Well, definitely not Stab in the Dark. Did you actually watch it?
I watched I watched some of the last episode, and not all of it. I mean, I fast forwarded it, but I will say that Ethan Ewing's, it doesn't matter who wins, loses, whatever, we all win. Ethan Ewing is such a beautiful surfer to watch. More, please. But let's go back to the spicy meatball real quick. So for those who didn't hear last week, I made the comment or the question. Hayden's historically has not done well at Stab in the Darks. His board usually dismissed forthwith. This year somehow, by last week, he was in the finals. And and then I had thought I had heard that Taj was a team writer for Hayden or on the team somehow. And so I was like, oh, Taj is basically Taj is Ethan's wingman in this one. And so, you know, providing his insights, his advice, all this kind of thing. And Hayden's there. Oh. And then lo and behold, Hayden wins the whole entire thing. So you want me to spoil second also? Because there's a redemption story in second.
No, let's leave that one. Unless it's valuable to talk about here.
Well, it's Dan Mann. So
this is shocking.
Yeah, but what we have, though, this made me feel really good about Dan Mann because this is a full-on redemption story for Dan, right? Like, I feel Dan got unfairly tarnished the last stab in the dark with the Kelly Slater shenanigans, right? It wasn't Dan's fault. He didn't ask to be put in. He didn't make anything sneaky. He just shaped it best board he can. So him getting second this year, I feel, is Dan Mann, bravo, redemption tour, right? It's, like, well-deserved.
Yeah, I mean, if he earned it fair and square, but what your implication is that there's a fix in here too, so it really undermines that.
Well, I don't know, because what would the fix in be? Yeah, I think there was a fix that was in for Hayden on this one.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is if Ethan is subject to influence,
yes,
then everything gets thrown out the window. But
you
know, I going into this, I just thought whatever he rides and he deems as best wins the thing. But if you're saying, no, Taj is there whispering in his ear and influencing him to think that the board is better, then you could make an argument that the Dan Mann might not have been a second place board either, that there could have been some other influence at play.
You could make that argument, except I don't think that Taj has any vested interest in either Dan Mann or Kelly Slater designs, right?
No, Taj doesn't, but I'm just saying, like, there's conversations happening, like maybe Stab does, maybe Sam does.
Well,
maybe,
that's what I mean.
I have no idea what's happening at this point.
See, so that's what I'm saying is that, again, and it's a great show, right? I mean, it's a great Stab in the Dark. It was a wonderful production. They've absolutely crushed it. It just seems like a real cell phone, though, of the last two being, and not even just like, you know, you have to dig into the weeds. I'm not making this controversy out of thin air. This is the fact, right? Is that last Stab in the Dark, Dan Mann was Kelly Shaper, all that. We've talked that to death. Now this year we have Hayden, all of a sudden coming out of nowhere and winning. I think in the story before, the predictions were what? I think 50% of those who had watched so far thought that the CI was going to win. I think only 13% maybe thought that Hayden was going to win. So when I don't know if it was exactly 13, but it was a small percentage thought Hayden was going to win, right? You have a small percentage watching this thing thinking Hayden's going to win, and I know Ethan doesn't get to watch the footage, right?
I would presume he does. I would think they review footage at the end of the day.
I think you're not supposed to. I think it's off feel alone, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I thought that was in the rules. But in any case, Hayden, so everybody watching has one idea of what's going on. They liked Ethan on the CI, 50%, right? So it seems a little sus, let's just put it that way, that the Hayden Shape won, where I feel on the next Stab in the Dark, there should be like they need to go back in and clean this up. There needs to be, if there's no shenanigans, because this also opens the door of like, and not saying that Hayden is, you know, not a great shaper or whatever, like nothing against Hayden. I'm not saying Hayden cheated. I'm not saying anything at all, but there's this appearance now of, did Hayden buy ads in Stab, right? Like this is getting too messy.
I did notice throughout the series that Taj did have more influence than I would like him to have in terms of Ethan is looking at a board and guessing who shaped it, and Taj makes a facial gesture or like winces a little bit or looks at the camera real quick or whatever. And it's like, I know Taj wasn't trying to give away anything, but he inadvertently was because he has the list. He knows what's what. And so he's responding to Ethan getting it right or wrong. So whether or not your implication is correct, there's just influence happening. It's not a double blind study. And
I suppose if the audience may not care at all, right? The audience, but I think this whole thing has been built on, I mean, this truly has become the Super Bowl of shapers, right? This is the one time, I mean, think you could argue, or some people probably think that whoever wins the CT, whatever board they're on, that's really the true test of the best shaper in the world, which is fine. But I think this one, that's always going to be about the surfer. Obviously, this one is about the shaper. It's not a show about Ethan. We enjoy watching Ethan ride, but it's about who is the best shaper. And if the idea that this thing is tainted, I don't know, does it change it for you? Does it change your enjoyment of Stab in the Dark, or is your enjoyment basically based on watching a surfer surf a bunch of different boards and then the winner is fine, but not why you watch?
It changes my viewing experience. I don't know that I would say it changes my enjoyment. I still enjoy it, but it's a less pure product at this point. Definitely a less pure product after Kelly. And now I haven't formed a full opinion on whether I think the fix was in with Taj influence, but it definitely is a less pure product with the information that I now have. And I guess what will form my opinion is watching it and deciding which board I think looked the best.
Yeah.
If I think the Hayden looked the best under his feet, then it is what it is.
Yep. Yeah.
Did you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, no. I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, I guess looking back,
when you watched it, was there a board that looked best to you?
Oh, I mean, the CI, but looked best to me. I just thought it just really fit his surfing, right? But I think that he doesn't get to review the footage, so he's just going based on feeling. So it's hard to know what he was feeling on that board. But I thought he looked really, really, really sharp on both I think it was the DHD maybe, and the CI.
Then they left the DHD in the final. He was allowed to pick that.
I'm sorry,
if he
not
wanted
DHD.
To.
Was the which one is still in the final? JS?
Well, no, the DHD made it to the final. I just didn't know in the final episode if they were going to disqualify it then.
I can't remember. I think he surfed it first or second. There was 3 that went out, I think, right away.
Okay. So with the 4 episodes, the CI looked the best by far for me, and that's why that prediction stat reflects it, is that was the best board underfoot based on 4 episodes.
Yes.
So I'll watch the 5th and then make a decision whether or not he surfed the other boards better.
That means we can kick this a spicy meatball down the road and revisit it next week.
One thought that I did have that I don't think I've shared publicly is that I don't know how much this influences surfers who are going to go buy a shortboard. I've always had that question of whoever wins this, do they then sell a bunch of those surfboards?
I've heard that yes, it does. That there is a substantial bump in from a couple different sources. There's a substantial bump in sales, and also that models that were heretofore not models now become models. So now you have a whole nother, line item. I think the CI Pro came out of Stab in the Dark, right?
I don't know.
I think it did. I think there was there's been others that have come out of Stab in the Dark. They weren't actual models, right? The shaper obviously shaped something unique, and then it was wow, that's cool. And so
you'd be wise to do that. Or you'd be dumb not to do it if you were the shaper, to not introduce it as a model. So what I was going to say is whether or not that stat, I didn't know that stat until you said it. But what I do think it does is it gives a certain credibility and legitimacy to the shaper that wins that the pros are keeping track of.
Yeah.
So Hayden Shapes, in my mind, was I'm not going to say not high performance, but it was the Hypto Crypto, obviously the best selling shortboard of all time. It was this kind of alternative high performance board, but it wasn't the stiletto that Ethan Ewing has been winning heats and events on. And so now he's added to that conversation. And I think the Gabriel Medinas of the world, Jack Robinson, the Kanoa Igarashis, I think they now want to ride a Hayden. And once they, and I honestly think that's might be why Gabriel Medina has been riding CIs, is because, other people, a lot of top level pros ride them. But when you win Stab in the Dark 2 or 3 times, then Gabriel Medina goes, shoot, maybe I ride him. And once Gabriel Medina's riding it, then the average surfer goes and buys him off the rack.
Except for, I wonder if the fix is in, if the pros know, fix was in on that one, no way. And then they steer clear.
I don't think so. I mean, they might feel that way with the Firewire because that was so egregious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, congrats, Hayden. Like I said, I think this enters him into a new conversation.
Completely, and absolutely nothing. This whole chat we had was in no way to, you know, any like talk smear Hayden in any way, shape, or form. Like, wish him the very, very best. I just think if Stab cares about keeping this thing double blind, then they got to clean up their act and relook at it and be like, okay, yeah, this is getting too, it's too muddy.
The surf industry is just so incestuous that, like, if you're going to include Taj, he has business ties. If you're going to include anybody, they have business ties, and it's hard to separate.
Sure, but if that's your product, if your product is a double blind surfboard test, then you've got to figure out. You say, okay, sorry, either Hayden shouldn't have been in that competition because with a tie to Taj, or Taj shouldn't have been Ethan's partner. You know, whatever, buddy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to watching now.
Yeah, there you go. Spoiled it. Double spoiled it for you. It's a double blind spoiling.
I apologize. I mean, look, it is surf news. I probably should have prepped with that before we recorded, but there's only so much time in the day. Do you want a pro in the wild?
Sure do.
All right, this is a throwback pro in the wild. Dear DLS, in light of Felipe surfing a 2+1 at Raglan, by the way, it's a twin +1, just for the record, I thought I would share pros in the wild. In the early 2000s, I would travel between San Diego and Santa Cruz to amateur surfing competitions. These competitions were more of an excuse to try and win a bag of stuff and travel rather than compete. I had zero QS aspirations. I also had zero sponsors, which would allow me to surf in the, quote, recreational division as well as the, quote, points division. Heats all day if I could advance. Even though I surfed both divisions, I still only received one contest t-shirt, which was unfair of the event organizers in retrospect. Those contest t-shirts, by the way, were gold when you were young. It's like if you could show up at school wearing a contest t-shirt, that was like,
man,
legit. Yeah. One contest at Emmawood, the waves are 1 to 2 feet. Surprise, surprise. Growing up surfing in San Diego, I would always bring my 5'6" keel fin retro fish to competitions, but would never ride it in a heat. This particular day, having made both semifinals in both divisions, I decided it was time to try the keel fin fish in my recreational division heat as an experiment. I caught 7 waves with multiple maneuvers and was feeling good after seeing what the other competitors were catching. They were scored on only 1 wave each, and I lost the heat. Exiting the water, I didn't want to pick up a cobblestone and whack a judge, but I wanted an explanation from the judging booth, so I headed over and was told a judge will see me shortly. There was nothing in the rule book, so I thought I had a solid case. I look over, and who do I lock eyes with? Chris Brown. I almost shat my suit. He gave me a classic smile, politely exchanged why, and then headed back to the booth. Am I going to argue with a person who has a wraparound named after him? Nope. Chris Brown, one of California's finest, rest in peace, JJ. P.S. It was my last contest ever, and I dove deeper into Thomas Campbell and Andrew Kidman films after that.
Man, I now want to know, though, JJ, you got to follow this up. What did Chris Brown say? What was the reasoning? I mean, I know that he's a legend. I know you're not going to argue with whatever he says, but what did he say?
Funny you should ask, because I emailed him back and asked that exact thing, and he replied 4 hours ago, and he said, their single wave score was better than my 2 waves. That's how low I got scored, and the message that they were sending. His explanation was simple. A fish is not considered a, quote, shortboard for the shortboard division. Even though my fish was 5'6" and is short, it's technically not a shortboard. Wasn't the best explanation, but I wasn't going to push it since I already knew it was an experiment.
Great, and I'm glad that you did follow up, because that would have haunted me all week long, waiting to get to that information. Good to know. Also, is that true, do you think, to this day? Do you think that a fish would not be considered a shortboard?
Yes. A shortboard is a genre of board based on a concert of design features. It's not the length of the board.
Sure, exactly. I know that. But what I'm saying is, if you paddle a fish out in a CT heat, would you not get the score because you weren't on that is the shortboard tour?
I don't think they're going to punitively downscore you, but I do think you are not able to go vertical on a fish. And so this is the only scenario where the argument could be made is 1 to 2 foot Emma wood, and you are going faster, riding longer, and maybe doing a cutback, and people on pointy thrusters aren't able to do anything.
I thought Felipe, and we've already talked this to death, so we don't need to go more, but when the waves got good or better at Raglan, I thought he looked very bad on his board, personally.
Not the twin plus one, the regular board.
The twin plus one, I thought he looked bad.
Oh.
When it stacked up a little more than that, there was some point in the heat where it got better, and he was just doing fat turns, it looked like, where you could tell that, that's why I was like, why isn't everybody on these boards? But it's just like that. There's a tiny window where it works, and if that gets bigger than that, it just, I didn't think it looked good at all.
So that's the thing, is he was riding that board, but that board in knee to waist high raglan, he was able to go vertical.
Yeah.
And he was able to get speed off of kind of the bottom turn that other people weren't able to generate based on the width of the board and the flatness of the board and the two bigger fins. He was able to get the speed and then take it vertical from there, where other people couldn't even get the speed. They're like, clapping the board, bouncing it, Huntington hopping it, basically. So that is the fine line. But I would think at Emma Wood, on a 1 to 2 foot day, the keelfin fish might actually have been the better board to get scores on. And it sounds like the judges were just trying to prove a point.
Racists. Board racists.
Stereotypists, elitists.
Yeah.
But I thought Chris Brown was a name that you and I do not discuss often enough. So I pulled up some footage that we could watch of him while I read Matt Warshaw's Encyclopedia of Surfing entry on said Chris Brown.
I love it.
Did you like Chris Brown as a surfer when you were coming up?
He wasn't my favorite, I don't think. I didn't really have much of an opinion. Did you?
I loved him. Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching so many California surf videos from the 90s. And so he was ever present, in the cold water segment of the film, absolutely shredding. And his style was so unique and the fundamentals are so sound. And he always had such a happy, go lucky, running down the beach, smiling, waving. So I absolutely loved him. And then he charged too. He'd be, certainly surfing Mavericks, but even surfing Ghost Tree or big wave Central California spots that you weren't sure where it was. And he'd be getting shacked on crazy slabs. So anyways, for those aware, mild-mannered pro surfer from Santa Barbara, described as a pre-adolescent surfing genius and winner of the juniors division in the 1988 amateur surfing world championships. Brown was born in 1970 in Los Angeles and then raised in Santa Barbara. He began riding waves at the age of 10, taught by his father, a Santa Barbara area surfer since the late 50s. The smooth and flowing surf style of Brown developed resembled that of three-time world champ Tom Curran, who also grew up in the area. Raised in what Surfer Magazine describes as a fervently born-again family, Brown was unhappy as a World Tour rookie in 1988 and went into semi-retirement at the end of the following season. He returned to the circuit in 1992 and finished in 1993, ranked 23rd, drifted down the rankings, and then fell off the tour in 1995. Meanwhile, Brown was a Professional Surfing Association of America Tour champion in 1994 and took individual honors in 1996 at the Caton Team Challenge. And in the early 2000s, he reinvented himself as a big wave surfer, taking on California and Mexico's biggest, most dangerous breaks. Sadly, as listeners probably remember, he died in 2019 at the age of 49 after falling from a cliff near his Santa Barbara home. The cause of death was drowning due to blunt force trauma. Coroner's report later noted that he did have acute methamphetamine intoxication.
Sad end, but a beautiful surfer.
Really incredible surfer. I love watching that old footage. It's so nostalgic for me.
It's really good.
Back to World Tour talk. I've got a listener call that I want to play for you.
What's up, guys? Long-time listener, first-time caller. I got a point I'd love to hear both of your opinions on. Yago and Leandro Dora. How odd is it to be Yago right now? You come up, you win the world championship. Your dad's been your coach all this time. Now you are the current world champion. Your dad is not your coach. Your dad is coaching half of everybody on tour. There he was carrying Italo Ferreira and partying with these guys. Yago's nowhere to be seen. It's just weird to me, man. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me hear your thoughts.
Your thoughts?
I've always thought this was weird, right? Like I don't know how you bifurcate that relationship, right? Because especially at that level, it's not like what your dad is coaching the other T-ball team, right? Where the stakes are low. I mean, at this point, Leandro's paycheck directly is tied to Yago Dora losing to whoever because he does. How many surfers on tour does Leandro coach? It's a bunch, right?
Currently 4, 2 men, 2 women.
Okay, so who are his men again? It's
Italo.
Yeah.
So no, Jack's off. Jack got off, I think, a year or two ago.
Okay.
Mateus Hurdy, who did draw Yago at Bell's. So that's a direct conflict. And then also Yago versus Italo, I think, in the semifinal in this event. So he coaches, I'm sorry, to answer your question, Mateus and Italo, and then Luana and Lakey.
Okay, so, but specifically though, Yago comes up against Mateus, I mean, maybe Leandro's like, but Yago's going to win that more than not, right? So it's the Italo where Leandro's sitting there. You've got to be actively cheering against your son. It's not like you can recuse yourself. Like, oh, okay, Italo, sorry, I'm taking this heat off. I got to always root for my boy.
Yeah, I think you're exactly wrong. I think that you do root for your boy in Italo in that scenario, but that jeopardizes your business with Italo.
Exactly, but and Italo's got to know that. Like, if you got to let Italo know that you are 100% in his corner, right? I mean, I remember my dad coached my, all my sports as a kid. Like, I think soccer, flag football, baseball, basketball. And I always felt, and I don't know if he feels the same as this, but I felt like I would ride the pine more. And I would ride the pine more, because I wasn't probably the best athlete on the team, but I think I was pretty good. But like, just he did not want to give the illusion of favoritism to his child, right? So he went above and beyond to make sure that it didn't look like I was getting favorited. Rightly so, right? Like, all fine and good. And you would have to think that Leandro would go above and beyond to let Italo know, hey, I'm in your corner. I know Yago's afraid of spiders. He's always been afraid of spiders since he was a little boy. So just go whisper spider as you paddle by him in the water. You'd have to do things like that if you want to keep the job.
So that's my issue with this, is that Leandro not only is Yago's father, but he was his coach for the vast majority of his life, from childhood up until 2024. So he knows everything about Yago's game, which is kind of the ultimate stab in the back. Like, to go then work for the opponent, you use those people's shortcomings against them.
Absolutely.
So that's the one part where it'd be one thing if Yago went into the season with Italo and he said, hey, look, I've got your back 100% unless you draw Yago, at which point, mum's the word. I'm not going to say a word about the heat. I'm not going to coach you at all at that point. I'm not going to give you any insights into Yago. Everything else is fair game other than that. And then Italo could either opt in or opt out of that.
Except for the fact that Italo and Yago are both title threats, right? And so you can't go like, hey, I'm going to, again, with Mateus Hurdy, I'm sure he could go to Mateus and say, hey, look, I'm fully coaching you. I'm giving you my all unless you're up against Yago, then I'm backing off, knowing that Mateus Hurdy does not have a shot at a title or anywhere close to a title, right?
Yeah.
So but Italo is going for the title. Italo's like, are you kidding me? This is 1/5 of why I hired you.
The other thing is, even though Mateus isn't a title threat, he could ruin Yago's title late in the season in a pivotal heat. There could be a heat that he draws Mateus. Yago has to make the heat in order to get that first position, and Mateus can smoke him in that heat. So it's risky business.
Do you think, though, that the Doras are evolved enough where they're like, look, we're not going to sugarcoat this. Life's tough, and all's fair in love and war and professional surfing. So may the best man win. With Yago also, I suppose, knowing, like, I wonder how many double mind games there are. Yago knowing that his dad knows that his weakness is this. So he's going to double work on that, but also knowing that his dad is going to tell Italo to focus on that. And so outthinking his dad. It's coaching.
It's a possibility. That's also not great for family dynamics if you're just playing that 3D chess.
At the end of the day, though, you know, maybe they're just that hyper-competitive family where they tip their cap to the winner. You know, to the victor go the spoils. I'm going to see how many metaphors, cliches I can throw in a row. But where they just both realize that I'm going to give it my all, you're going to give it your all, and at the end of the day, let the best man win.
I hope so. Interestingly, Trax Magazine did an article on this a few weeks ago, and it's not like that insightful. It seems like maybe they had one conversation with Leandro at an event, you know, behind the scenes or something, and they got him to say like one paragraph, and then they built the article around that. But in that one paragraph, he basically said that they've got a great relationship, he and Yago.
Obviously, that's what he's going to say. Like,
I guess, yeah, I mean, I guess so, but I would like to believe it, you know.
Sure.
I would like to believe that all is copacetic and that they've been able to kind of, the thing is, I understand how they find themselves in this position, because Leandro, hyper competitive, high level surfer, his whole life, he raises his son to get into surfing, who then becomes a world champ, you know, a phenomenal surfer. And so, of course, you're going to coach him because you have all these insights. So you're going to give all that insight to your child. Your child ascends to greatness. You now have a career as a coach. So it makes sense that you would try to make money on that career. So I understand how they end up in this. And I don't know that I have advice for how to navigate it.
But also, I suppose it could be that, I mean, it could have all been mutual, right? It could have, Yago or Leandro could have come to Yago at the end of last season and said, that was everything I have, right? In this game, you always have to be evolving. There's no more I can coach you. So you're going to have to go find a new coach to get a different angle in order for you to keep improving, right? So this is it for me. I've given you, I have no more tricks. So you're going to go, and then maybe he even says, I'm going to go coach Italo because, I mean, not to bring the ballet studio up, but when daughter was really crushing, or, you know, her teacher actively went out to find someone to push her. And so found the best girl she could, really went on a mission to find somebody to bring her in so that daughter would not rest on her laurels, right? And not get sloppy not play down to the competition. She needed to be pushing her. So maybe Leandro was like, hey, you know how I was going to get a double Yago title is by putting Italo in the ring with him.
Or one final take is, what if Yago and Leandro saw Italo as the biggest threat? And so Leandro's going in there to cut him down at the knees, Tanya Harding style.
Nice one. I like that one the best of all. A sabotage. Right. Listen, y'all. I hope this word gets back to...
Friends close, enemies closer.
I hope this whole conversation gets back to Italo and Yago and Leandro, and it all just starts to poison in their minds. They're all just being real suspicious of each other all the time. Just hiring PIs to follow each other around, multiple PIs, just all of them, always looking over their shoulders.
That's what we do best. Take a healthy family dynamic and infest it with poison so that it falls apart. And world title hopes get tarnished along the way with a family dynamic.
You're welcome, everyone.
You're welcome. Hey, blame it on the listener.
Yeah.
I got another follow-up call from a previous week. Sawhorse rebuttal in defense of the Sawhorse.
Whoa! I did not see this one coming.
Coming your way. Here it comes.
David and Chaz, I have a different take on the Sawhorses that I think you might not be thinking of. But I am in total agreement. There is a population of surfers who use the Sawhorses as a flex, and they do not need them 100%. But when I was growing up, I grew up in Orange County surfing, Newport, Bolsa Chica, that zone. The Seahorses were for the oldest people in the lineup who probably couldn't bend down to get their board. So they needed Sawhorses, and I always looked at it as kind of a, they're lucky to still be surfing. Like, their bodies are so broken down that they can't bend down to get their board. And I've actually, when I was a kid, I had somebody ask me to pick up their board for them because they accidentally put it on the ground and they shouldn't have. They should have leaned it up against the trunk of their car. So that's the way I've always viewed Sawhorses, and I think there is still that population that deserves respect and doesn't deserve the hate that we might give to the other people who are using them. But, yeah, just something to think about. Keep working.
Now you feel bad?
Nope, because I do take that. I have taken that consideration, and I do not hate the old person with the sawhorse. But I don't see many old people with sawhorses where I'm at. That's the problem. It's all middle-agey people.
Didn't you say that you saw somebody with mini sawhorses?
Yeah.
So they had to still bend down to get the board.
Exactly. They were like, yeah, I never see. That's what all I see is mini sawhorses. I don't see full size sawhorses. The only thing I see, you would have to bend. You're only saving maybe 3 inches of bending. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Like, they're that tall, right?
The mini ones are to protect the board, basically, from getting scuffed up.
That's my beef. No, I don't think. I mean, you're still bending over. If I saw somebody with full on regular old carpentry size sawhorses and a board on it, I wouldn't have any beef with that. I'd be like, this person, something's going on here that this is not, good for them. They're doing something. But this aesthetic flex, that's what gets me.
Yeah, that makes more sense. It is funny though that old man example can surf, can like paddle and get to his feet, but can't bend over to pick up a surfboard. That's a weird needle to thread.
It is, except for when you think about surfing, you're never bending. I mean, you should be bending your knees and whatnot, but like from your belly to your pop up, then you don't go like touch your toes after that.
I understand that there is that narrow gap of physicality that is true. Like, it's harder to bend at the hips and lift something that's weighty than it is to push yourself up and get to your feet. But it's like that's a narrow window of
it is weird, but maybe their back only works one way. Their back only works this way. It doesn't work this way.
I also look, as I age and my body starts to shut down, I have a lot more sympathy for things that I criticized about old people prior.
Man, for sure.
I mean, truer words have never been spoken, and I'm only 44. Like, I will have more and more sympathy as I go. But I would make the argument, and I might regret this argument later, that if you're having a hard time bending over and getting your surfboard, that's when you need to start bending over to get your surfboard. Like, that is help exercising the thing rather than giving into it.
That's true. I agree with that 100%, unless there's some kind of, back fusion surgery thing that happened where they actually physically can't, but you're like letting something atrophy because it's atrophied. And again, I'm no physical therapist, but that doesn't seem like the way to go.
It's not the way to go for me in my 40s, but I could see it in your 80s if you're just literally trying to get one more session in before the back's completely done. Then you salvage the back by using the sawhorses.
That's true. That's true. But we're talking about like a very, 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 very small percentage of the surfing, population. But I guess, do we allow the sawhorses just for that one 80-year-old? Do we allow them all?
No, because anybody listening to the sound of our voices needs to know, with all things in life, there's a bell-shaped curve of the population. We're talking about the middle 80%. If you exist on the 10% over here or the 10% over there, don't be offended by these words.
Yeah. No, this is not for you.
I'm still laughing at the conversation we had. I don't know where it was about talking about working on your laptop in bed with like your legs straight. And then you said that you were doing that. And I was like, oh no, that's a bad idea. Like that is going to ruin you. You're going to have to, it'll take you like 20 seconds to get into a walking like gait before once you get up. That is a real thing now for me, is like almost no matter what position I'm sitting in, if I'm sitting long enough, my first 3 to 5 steps are like an
You got to
ogre.
be aware. You got to be ginger. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but I am no longer in the sauna because basically
have
I can no longer sit on the floor.
Yeah.
I've had to just say I can't, like, sitting on the floor for an hour and a half. I get up and I was like, I'm so wrecked for like wobbly. I felt weird. I'll feel weird the rest of the day.
That is no joke. Is it your knees or your back, or your legs or your back?
It's like all the legs, and then the back pops out. I love this conversation so much. Like, so then like I'll bend down and then the back will go. Like the lower back will just like bong.
That's where I feel it, is my lower back
Yeah.
from sitting.
Yeah.
You want to, this is a sad admission, but I'll give it to you. Austin, about a year ago, maybe he's 3 years, he's 4 now. So maybe around the time he was 3. We noticed he would like get up from a sitting position and he would grunt and moan. And it was a completely learned behavior. Like he just learned, he thought when you get up, you just go, ugh. And it was because his mom and dad, not just his dad, also his mom, got in the habit of getting up and just ugh, as you get up and go.
That is
How
really,
funny.
really funny. Did you
funny is
tell him not to do it, or are you just like, oh, I guess learn him young?
No, we laughed about it. We talked about it in front of him, and I think maybe that threw him off of it. He doesn't do it anymore.
Okay, that is very funny.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
No joke, dude. I've tried to stop doing it myself.
Yeah.
Maybe we've stopped. To be honest, maybe we adjusted our behavior too.
I went to the chiropractor, whatever, the wife's magician guy. I can't remember how I got in. Somehow I got in. My wife couldn't go to her appointment, so I took her appointment, I think is what it was. But in any case, he gave me exercises to do, and I used to never do my exercises, right? I'd be like, now I'm really trying to religiously do what I'm told. Like, I'm not trying to fight anymore against, not just trying to be an idiot. I'm like, I don't want to walk like an old man when I'm 50. It's time to actually start taking things seriously and not just being a total goober about everything.
Yeah, I know. That not stretching for the first 35 years of my life before surfing or physical activity was maybe not a great idea.
Guess what he told me? He said, don't stretch. He said, stretching is overrated. He said, stretching will hurt you more often than not. Yeah. He like,
What exercise are you doing then?
I think it's like, yeah, resistance, like light resistance something. You're doing an exercise, you're strengthening the muscle along with loosening the ligament, as opposed to stretching, which is just pulling the ligament or whatever, which
I like it.
leads to injury. Yeah.
I like that. My wife goes to the chiropractor pretty regularly, like once a week or so. And they use this massage machine.
Yeah.
She was like blown away by.
Like a Theragun?
No, it's
The one on
like
the
you have to.
spine? It goes tick, 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 tick.
No, it's a big pad, about 12 inches. It's a rectangle pad, about 12 inches by, let's say, 9 inches. And you have to hold on 2 handles above the pad, and that's it. But you have to hold 2 handles because it's so aggressive. And you just put direct pressure down, and it's got a throttle on it that you can go light, or full heavy. And it's like horsepower, like it's strong, but it's just a vibration, like an up and down vibration. But the intensity of it is crazy town, and it works unbelievably good.
Did you buy one?
Yeah. So she was telling me about it. We're like, we looked at the price. It's pretty expensive. So we like put it off for months and months. And then finally we pulled the trigger on it, and it's a game changer. It's like the best massage machine ever.
It like loosens you up. No problem.
Absolutely. Like, and everything, like you could use it on your calves. You could use it on like the glutes are amazing. The back is amazing. The shoulders amazing, but it is high intensity.
Well, sweet. I like
If
this.
you like high intensity, I'll send you a photo of what, I don't even know the brand name,
Okay.
but it's like, there's no way to do it to yourself. So it's like, we do
have
it
to
to
have
each
them do it.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to have the other person do it, but it is like just 5 minutes on that thing. It feels incredible.
Couple bonding. Sweet.
Exactly. Okay, moving on. We did Don't Say Gay last week about white people problems. I got a rebuttal to that too.
Great. Love to
Yeah.
hear it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I want to spoil it. I'll just let him deliver it.
Love you guys. Talking about the grit. I'm definitely not white. Parents are from another country where they eat spicy food. And I would just say about Don't Say Gay, I think you should just say for the surf pool, it's a first world problem. That should be the first thing, because when you just go straight, oh, white person problem, then people like me are being excluded from something where we could share in the same laugh. Or I've multiple times been to wave parks and have had to choose between air or barrel or other sections based on what I want to do. So to just be more inclusive, go with first world problems and let everybody share in the laugh that you guys are having instead of just having it yourselves. Love you guys. Nice. Keep it working. Bye.
Great point, but introduced another Don't Say Gay right in his rebuttal for Don't Say Gay, which is first world.
Ooh.
There's no such thing anymore. There's
point.
no such thing. The first world was in reference directly to the communist world when the USSR was doing its thing. And so there was first world, second world, third world. These days, even, I think it's risky to say first world and third world, right? Third world obviously denotes, bad plumbing and all these kinds of things, right?
No plumbing.
Yeah, no plumbing. So we can't, I think first world, third world, got to go. Second world's already gone. The glue that bound the first and third together was the Soviet Union. No longer here. Out with that. So I guess we can say, but we need to be inclusive. So we can say upper class problems.
I guess so. That's the most accurate.
Ramen problems.
We didn't even consider the fact that white people problems was exclusive.
No.
Like we didn't account for other skin types having disposable income, basically, and that they might want to have a laugh too.
Yeah, exactly. A vast oversight, but also, I shouldn't say this. I was going to say, but I'm not saying it, and so I'll be. It's all okay because I'm not saying this. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying this. Like people who are full frothy surfers, though, all act pretty white, right? Like our dear caller, just from the sound of his voice, I was like, "You're a bro. You and me are bros. You and me are maybe more similar than you are with other people from your culture."
What do you think his nationality was or his ethnicity was?
Between Hispanic and Asian.
Okay, because I would make the argument Brazil are the most frothy surfers.
That's
like
true.
you said equating white with frothy surfer.
Oh, I didn't mean frothy surfer. I meant with not a frothy surfer. Sorry, I misspoke. With the specific kind of surfer that the levels of the wave pool surfer, the Sprinter Van Sawhorse surfer, the whatever, right? Like the traditional Southern California trope surfer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think also you can factor accent in. Like his accent sounded Southern California to me.
Yeah. It sounded surf bro, even more specifically, right? Surf bro, Southern California. So I guess that's what I'm saying is that surf, he and I are both, and I guess all of us are the race of surf. Surf is our main race. And then we're also white, brown, whatever we are. But surf almost supersedes our racial makeup.
It absolutely does. But there's maybe the last 30 years plus has been the majority of surf race was Caucasian
Yeah,
male.
that's true. That's true. So now it's
But that's
changed.
not, or it was changed prior, like Hawaii as an entry point, was the dominant for a period of time. That changed at some point. Brazil coming in now absolutely changes the dynamic.
Well, and I very much look forward to and applaud surf culture, Southern California surf culture specifically, diversifying, right? I want to have a myself as a surfer because I get to benefit from a broader surf experience when there's more, diverse opinion, diverse style, diverse way of doing things. All the diversity is great for the culture, I think.
Selfishly, I agree. I am pro diversity, period, full stop.
Except for when it comes to boards. I don't,
What?
except for when it comes to longboards. I'll let some oh yeah, I'm letting longboards in now because of our deer. Who was our deer caller who was sad about me?
Link.
Yeah, Link. Sorry, Link. The longboards are good. Longboards in, sups are still out.
All of my commentary is literally just commentary on what is observable in nature, or the trends in the culture. Anyways, thank you for that. I like to open it up. Upper class problems, I guess we go from here.
Yeah, upper class problems, unless somebody has something better.
Yep, I like it. Okay, let's go to commercial break, and then we'll be back with another listener line call and a couple of barrels or nas. I'm going to come back with a call real quick.
I have a Tools to Live By for Bear, sponsored by Bear. Growing up, I would always have a digital watch to go surfing on surf trips, and it was such a pain in the ass to always come home or go there and switch the time. I never knew which buttons to hit, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward it to this past Christmas, I was gifted a Bear watch. I forget what style, but really super awesome analog watch. And I'm thinking, why was I not surfing with an analog watch this whole time? Because to fix it to the time zone that you're in is way easier than messing around with a digital watch. I'm blown away that it took me 38 years to figure this out. Am I the only one that has realized that analog watches are the way to surf versus digital watches? Anyway, their rules, you guys rule. Keep up, keep doing, surf on.
Yeah,
I love the conviction and the passion.
it's so true. And Big Freestyle really had us all blinded for so long. They used their massive amounts of lobbying power in Washington, D.C. to make sure that surfers had sharks. And if you weren't going to have a shark, then you were going to have something shark adjacent.
Let's be real. Digital watches are like Velcro shoes, basically.
Yeah, it's true.
Like if you're a grown person wearing a digital watch, like you're either tracking your steps or something like that. Like there's no good reason to have a digital watch. And I include Apple Watch in that.
I absolutely do too. When I see, and I know I'm offending a large percentage of our audience today, and I'm sorry for this, but I just can't help it. When I see an Apple Watch on an adult, unless that adult is like in active workout clothes or actively working out, if they're in anything else, I'm like, you gadget-loving sheeple.
I agree. No, it's insane. The worst offense for me is when I see people getting married wearing them.
Oh, man. It is not for that. It is not for that.
It's like the one time in your life where you need to like class it up a little bit.
Dignify yourself. The Apple Watch is not dignified at all. And like, I get it for some people, right? Whatever, if you're on the go and you always need to be taking calls on your watch or something, if you hate pockets and can't carry phones or you need your watch, whatever I'll give it to you. But know that it's a tool, that Apple Watch, and you don't wear the tool all the time, right? I know this is Tools to Live By brought to you by Veer, but you wear your Veer, and then if you need to use your Apple Watch for something, that's what you do.
my issue is it's a tool, but it's a technology, and the
Yeah.
technology you can use for your own benefit, but it should not be ruling your life. And those people wearing the Apple Watches are using it as part of their life. Like it's attached to their hip. I mean, it's attached to their wrist.
The fact that you have to, it always baffles me. And the thought floats through my mind every time I see one is that person goes home and has to charge their watch. That's like one extra thing they have to think about every day. They have to think about, put my keys away, plug my phone in, make sure my computer's got juice. And now, shoot, those Apple Watch people probably have electric toothbrushes. Like, how many things do you need to think about charging every day?
Well, my main issue with it is in the dystopian future, the movies that we watch, Minority Report or whatever, where everybody is wearing the exact same outfit and uniform, and you're basically a cog in the wheel of society. And
Gattaca.
And exactly. Yeah. That is the Apple Watch. You know what I mean? Like the watch is an opportunity to express a little bit of personality or an interest of yours or a little bit of style or something. And so, do that, make a decision. And also I like the tactile winding of it that he's talking about versus the not knowing how to change the time. I always had that same confusion growing up. Like you got to save the little like user manual so that you know how to do it. Nowadays, I think it's a little bit more universal where you just hold down a certain button and then that gets you to the...
I don't think so. I mean, I haven't done it for a while, but you always screw it up. That's the thing. And now you're stuck going like, oh man, now I didn't mean to change the date. I was trying to change the time. Now I changed the date. And so now I got to go, like it's never easy. There's no way they made it easier. There's no way to make it easier.
I know. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that, listener. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Hadn't even thought about it for a long time about digital watches on adults, but it's the Velcro shoes, man. You grow up. True. Okay. We got a barrel or nah coming in from Jacob Z. Clay's YouTube channel, believe it or not.
Amazing. From his porn channel or his regular one?
The non-porn one.
Okay.
I haven't ventured into the porn side of his business yet, the OnlyFans page. And don't even ask me why I was watching his YouTube because I won't even answer it. But I was watching it and I saw the strangest thing ever. How about I play it for you and then you try to guess what about this clip I'm going to barrel or not?
Great.
Let's see. Where is it? You know what? I don't think you need the audio. Actually, let me just share
it around your waist.
Nope. Good guess, but nope. I want to share the audio because I think that might help you a little bit. Sorry, this is taking so long. Are you able to see that now?
No.
What the heck, man? Okay, let me try one more time. Okay, here we go. Oh, you know what? I didn't even record audio on it anyways. Okay, Jacob walking out to the wave pool in Virginia Beach. He sees Sky Brown right there. Now, what is the barrel or not?
Peace sign.
Nope.
Oh.
So she's getting ready for her heat. He's chatting her up. Her board's off to the side. She's waiting for it. There you go.
Having somebody else wax your board.
Boom, nailed it.
There we go. Boom.
She has a wax caddy. Somebody else waxed her board for her.
Yeah, I'm going to say that is an absolute zero, no bad, no barrel. Like waxing your board, it's part of the experience, right? Like the surf experience, as we've talked about often, is more than just the surfing bit, right? The surf experience is the smells and the tastes and the sounds and all of it. And the more you scrub out of that, you're doing yourself a disservice. Waxing your board is surfing as much as paddling is surfing, as much as surfing is surfing, I would argue.
I know. Like, here's the deal, though. I understand her because I hate waxing a surfboard. Like, I'm at the point where applying a wax to a waxed board before a session is fine. That's an easy job. But if you're gonna if you're going on a trip and you got to scrape off all the cold water wax and then apply all the warm water wax, that is a hefty job. I start getting carpal tunnel. My elbow starts hurting. Like, I would love, if I was in her position, especially, you got a whole quiver of surfboards, bring along a wax caddy. Do all the heavy
I
lifting.
suppose at the end, I didn't really consider that. I considered myself and my one board that I ride, regularly. I didn't think of quivers and quivers of freshies, nonstop. What are freshies called again?
Dang, I forgot.
Yeah. Quivers of brand new boards that need to be waxed and base coated and waxed. And I guess if you're a pro, then have at it. But no no wax caddy for a non-pro. And I'm talking about you, ultra wealthy surfers. Don't do it.
I mean, I get no wax caddy for the re-wax. Like, you already got wax on your surfboard and you're just going to go surf right now. So you just do a quick top layer of wax. You don't need a caddy for that.
But okay. I'll take it out of the no barrel and put it into the barrel for pros, but that's it. The ultra wealthy, the Jeff Bezos style surfer, whoever is the richest surfers who think, yeah, I'm going to do that too. No, you are not. You wax your own board.
I agree with you with your initial conceit, which is don't strip all of the ritual out of the experience.
Yes.
Like, if you're just, you're showing up and you stand with your arms and legs out and somebody puts your board shorts on for you, ties them for you, waxes your board, applies sunblock to your face, pushes you into a wave, and then you just have to Raymona's you into a wave. No, that's insane. Like, now you're missing all of it, know?
Yeah.
Yeah. True. All right, but how amazing is that Sky Brown
Has a wax
was just
caddy.
standing there waiting for her board to be waxed for her?
Amazing. Really amazing.
Okay. Barrel or nah from a listener email using onomatopoeias. Seems like the only place I hear the term swoop used is to describe a turn, mainly on the WSL broadcast. Using an onomatopoeia to describe a surfing maneuver just sounds odd, unless maybe you're a grom. That's all for now. I'm going surfing to work on my slashes. Keep work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so slash would be an onomatopoeia. Whack would be an onomatopoeia, I think. Yeah. Wapow. I'm going to say in surfing, it's okay as long as it's not ironic. Like the people who go, mimic that wapow guy. That's like, that thing is okay. I get it. Ha ha ha. But if you're saying, man, I went up and bash.
Schwacked. Schwacked.
I schwacked. Yeah, I guess I don't like them. I mean, if we're going to consider, bash is not an onomatopoeia, right? Bash is a real word.
Bash
Whack
is a word
real
because there's no sound in surfing that sounds like bash.
Yeah, bash is a description. Yeah, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no barrel. I'm going to say you don't. As an adult, you don't say, "Man, I was flying down the line and whoosh."
So I'm going to say surfing is the only place where it's appropriate, because his email is kind of saying, unless you're a grom, he's like, it's undignified or it's unadult to say it. I'm saying sometimes that's the only way to describe a turn. Like that guy. Yeah. Like if I'm on a surf trip and we're talking at the end of the day and you're describing something that you witnessed somebody do that was so cool, and you're like, he went up to the. What?
Did you hear that?
No.
Oh man, I hope it's on the real recording. It went into an epic remix, right? He went into the lip, 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 like got in a glitch where it just kept repeating.
It is on the recording because that happened previously and you said it and I'm like, no, I didn't hear it. And then on the comment section on YouTube, a bunch of people were referencing it.
That's awesome. Good. Because that's a funny one. But okay, do you ever use it? Do you ever, he went into the lip, I didn't catch the end, but I'm sure you said what? He went into the lip and poof.
Yeah, and went, wah!
But yeah, see, you even feel silly doing it because I'm not offended if I hear it, but I never do it naturally.
Right now, retelling it seems silly, but in the moment when you're
I don't
in
think
the
you did that.
experience,
I think you said he went up and maybe wham. He went up and bam. I don't think you do it.
swoop.
He went up, man, he was like cruising down the line. You should have seen his like hit the bah off the whapa. I guess when you're excited, you might say bah.
It's rare. Now that you're really holding my feet to the fire on this
Yeah.
one, I don't do it very often. It's very rare.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm really all over the place today, but I'm going to retake this one out of the no barrel box and put it in the barrel box. But like all things, if you're being ironic, if you're being real, over the top, making a production of boo, being surf guy, then it's silly.
I think this lands squarely where claims land, which is
Do it naturally.
if it is the only way to release the emotion from your body because you just got blown out of a 8-foot chopu barrel, let it rip.
Yeah.
And so if you're retelling that story
And you're so excited.
there's no word that describes the turn that you witnessed your buddy do, then you onomatopoeia it.
Perfect. Agree. Barrel on that. Great.
Sorry for the complicated answer, everybody. Okay, DLS and Chaz. Beach Grit commenter Com Turren here with a barrel or nah dilemma. Joining a band in middle age that has members about 10 years younger than you are. A guy I helped record an album about 7 years ago that I somehow ended up tracking bass on reached out to me about joining his new band as a second guitarist. This is a local band that's never going to tour, and I might get paid in beer at best. The only problem is these guys are all about 10 years younger than I am. It would be fun, but I might have just aged out of this sort of a thing, and it might be a bad look, both for me and for them. On that subject, I'm going to jump in on the new theme song bandwagon, even if only to force DJ Seaweed's hand in creating something that blows all the other submissions out of the water. This is never going to get your Spotify episodes yanked because it's never going to see the light of day otherwise. This is a Com Turren original and not the aforementioned band. Such a dicey one. I'll play that to close out the episode. Yes.
Okay, so Com is a tough one, because I want you to enjoy your life. I want you to have fun. I don't want us all to be so caught up in yucking each other's yums, as they say. But anytime I saw the Rolling Stones, I'd always look at was the bass player looked super old, or was
I don't
super
know.
old?
I mean, they're all old now, so I don't know.
But he looked old then, and also whoever the Ramone was that looked a lot older, or was a lot older than the other Ramones. And on the flip side, you too, I'd look at Larry Mullins Jr. on drums and be like, why are these guys having a 12-year-old play drums? And so the age gap thing in the band, I've always been very, very aware of it in what are you doing? What are you doing here? Old dude, like, yeah, I get it. I mean, when Johnny Marr was in, all right, already, what's that band? All right.
Franz Ferdinand.
Friends. Oh yeah, Johnny Marr was not in Friends. That's not Franz Ferdinand either. That is. I'll figure that one out. But
Float on.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah. We're all right already. Well, we're gonna get sued from Spotify again for me singing.
Modest Mouse.
Modest Mouse. So Johnny Marr, the Smiths guitarist, was in Modest Mouse, and he was very much older, I feel, than those guys. It's always questionable. I always think something went off in the older band members, even if they're in the most famous band in the world. Something in their life didn't take the right turn.
For the record, you had a shocking amount of examples of old people in bands that pull off the top of your head.
Because I think about it. I think about it all. Like every time I see one, I put it in it takes up all the space in my brain that important things should.
So with all of those, I can make an excuse that those guys are making millions of dollars. It's a gig. Like he's taking a gig because he's qualified and he has the previous resume. He's taking a gig. Now, mine was not based on aesthetic. My response was not based on aesthetic. It was more based on lifestyle choices. Like, how old do you think Com Turren is? 40?
Yeah.
38?
38.
38, late 30s. So he's talking about early guys who are in their late 20s. I don't have a lot in common with that group and those people. So if the band does well, your wife's not going to let you travel. Like all of a sudden now you got to go on tour and like your day job's going to be asking where you're going to, all that sort of thing. So there's going to be a divergence then. Or these guys also, maybe they get a gig on a Friday night that goes until 2 a.m. or a Saturday night. Your wife's also not going to be okay with that. There's just going to be these lifestyle discrepancies. The other inevitability is you guys do want to hang out outside of practicing and playing. So now you're hanging out with 28-year-olds. How much do you actually have in common? They're trying to bang chicks at the bar, you know? Like, I just think it's a little bit, if you're solely looking for an opportunity to play music with like-minded people and you can manage that, then great. Do that. Have fun. I just think it very quickly slips into friendship dynamics.
I'm just going to say aesthetically too. Just look at a picture of the Ramones and that old ancient guy lingering.
So to your point, at that level, you can actually give it an excuse, millions of dollars. But at this level, you can't.
Yeah.
So if you're just playing, not even the belly up probably, if you're just playing like whatever, I don't know, the local venue is in San Diego for like bands starting out, and it's all a bunch of 25-year-olds watching the 28-year-olds play, and you're the oldest dude in the room always, to Chaz's point, it's an aesthetic issue too.
Exactly. Sorry, Com. I really would love to give you the green light here, but I just can't do it.
Well, I love the idea of him like living out his
Jamming.
childhood. Yeah, jamming and living out his youthful dreams, like keeping it intact, you know?
Well, let's bring this in-house. I think Com lives Orange County. And so if you're 38 and are a drummer in Orange County, call us in. Well, we've had mixed success. And by mixed, I mean no success with our setting people up romantically on this show, right? It was a failure.
We did one publicly. I've done another one privately or two, but I don't think I've had success any of them.
Maybe our wheelhouse is getting bands together. So if you are a drummer, a bass player, Com's guitar, if you're a singer and you're a listener to the show from Southern California, DM us. We'll put you all together.
We'll put you together. I'm now very sad that Bob Weir has passed now that we need an actual theme song. Could you imagine if longtime listener Bob Weir provided our theme song?
I mean, wouldn't you think it could be assumed from his email that he'd be okay with it?
Well, if we just used Grateful Dead music in the intro, absolutely he would have green lit that.
Yeah.
No problem whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, we just should. And then when Spotify comes a knocking again, just send him Bob Weir's email. Say, hey, I don't know. You guys fight with Bob about this.
Were you guys friends with Bob? No. This is a tacit approval from Bob. So,
Yes.
Bob, I hope you're still listening from the great beyond.
Yep.
Bob and Chaz, you want to hear Com Turren's contribution as we go out?
Sure do.
Okay. All right. Anything else? I mean, we should advertise Extra Fine Grit. Go and listen to that. And then, especially if you want to hear the New Zealand report. And then also Noble Rot, always, every week on its own feed.
And this week's theme, we're going to do it, David Lee. This week's theme is the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor?
Dude, cannot wait. The last one was so good.
Yeah.
Are you still beefing with those same people?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We need updates.
Yeah. I'll update.
All right. Cool. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. And here is Com Turren's contribution to the show.
Keep work.
Wow. That was good.